One stock that floated down with the market today was J.C. Penney. Its shares slid nearly 6% as an increasingly nasty spat between its largest shareholder and the company's board bubbled over in public once again. Activist investor Bill Ackman, whose Pershing Square management holds nearly 18% of Penney, today sent his second public letter in 2 days to directors, this one calling for the ouster of company chairman Tom Engabus and an accelerated search for a new CEO. Ackman's letter charged that personnel decisions were being made inappropriately, that he and other board members were being frozen out, and that vendors had told him privately, now publicly, that they were worried that Penney was being too optimistic in buying inventory. Penney's chairman called Ackman's comments, quote, misleading, inaccurate, and counterproductive. Whatever. It's the sort of public Donnybrook you rarely see in American business, but have seen more of in recent weeks. And here to discuss what happens when companies fight among themselves or fight with each other is Yale School of Management Senior Associate Dean Jeffrey Sonnenfeld. Jeff, great to see you again.
It's great to see you, Tyler.
You know, whenever I see this kind of open boardroom warfare break out, and it doesn't happen all that often, is it ever good for shareholders, or should I run the heck away?
It's not good for shareholders, and you see a little bit of a fleeting pop yesterday, Tyler, that quickly disappeared because people thought, well, maybe there's some pending news that's going to be good news about some major announcement of a change coming. But no, when you have this kind of disillusion, we saw it at the old HP board, where Tom Perkins and a guy named Jay Keyworth went to war with their own board, and that kind of self-immolation was very bad for all parties. You've seen it at Motorola in the past, and it's quite destructive. In this case, we have a historic breach of a duty of loyalty, where Bill Ackman, as an independent or an outside investor, he can say what he wants. As a board member, he has to represent the full board. Revealing confidences like this and attacking his own board like this is a breakdown in the trust on the board, and of course putting out confidential strategic information is a big no-no, and this board should probably move to have him removed. 16% is not a controlling interest.
You know, it also comes, Jeff, with the new CEO only being on the job for 4 months and being responsible for turning around a company that has been troubled for some time. It doesn't, regardless of whether it's politically correct or not, which obviously it does not seem to be, they haven't given this gentleman much time.
No, they have not given Mike Ullman much time. Mike Ullman, by the way, was responsible for a stock price that was 4 times the present stock price. So, and Mike was pushed out. The guy who took the stock up 4 times from where it is today was pushed out by none other than, of course, Bill Ackman, who had another candidate, somebody who he had given overly rosy portrait to, this fellow, Ron Johnson, who he had wrongly attributed to the success of the Apple stores to him, and made a mess of things. They, of course, the stock has plummeted. They lost over a third of their retail sales. They've massive layoffs. They've driven away their key customers. So it takes Mike some time to rebuild it. You're absolutely right, Sue. An interim has to be given even an interim has to be given some time to fix the ship.
Let me take the other side of the argument for just a moment, Jeff. And here's a company that is clearly troubled. I guess you could make the case that Ackman is being classically disruptive. And sometimes companies in conditions like J.C. Penney need a disruptor to come in and shake things up.
You can be a dissenter and a disruptor all you want within the confines of the boardroom while you're on that board. But this is not like a municipal city council meeting, or frankly, this is a problem if somebody in Congress thinks they're only representing a narrow constituency and not their full electoral base. As a board member and in Western governance, you have to represent not just Pershing Square investors or Bill Ackman's fancy of the moment, but he has to represent the full base of investors, and you can't have these broadside attacks. If he wants to do it from the outside, fine, or on the inside, critically but confidentially, fine. But you can't sort of have these attacks leaking confidential information. That's the breakdown in trust, and he likes these Rosie O'Donnell, Donald Trump slap-down models with getting into the mud, and that doesn't work here. And his preference for Alan Questrom, of all weird things, the former CEO who was a short-term CEO that it's a wonderful retailer, but he's got Foot Locker on his hands as a board member and Men's Warehouse to deal with.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff. Have a great weekend. Jeff Sonnenfeld of the Yale School of Management.